Hi Homeworthy, I'm Trevor Parker, and welcome to my Upper West Side apartment. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Trevor Parker. I'm a New York artist, and this is my Upper West Side home/studio. So today we're going to do a tour of my European-inspired apartment, and then we're also going to do a Cyan exposure. We're going to go to Riverside Park, which that's where I do it. Also, it's the biggest UV light that I have access to, so we're gonna do that. And then part of that, we'll do a whole rinse, and you'll kind of get to see the whole process of it, which is really special, really magical, very colorful, very blue. Finding this apartment was quite a journey. It took 2 years. It was one of those opportunities that you just couldn't turn down. This is a townhouse or a brownstone where each floor is its own residence. The residents of this unit decided to leave New York, but didn't want to rent to a stranger and didn't want to sell. And so I was the fortunate one who was the top of the list. And yeah, so I get to call this beautiful place home. Dining space. This is probably my favorite little quiet nook of the apartment. It's a forever piece. And by a forever piece, I mean I will keep it forever. It'll stay for every apartment. I'll find a style for it to fit in, but it's got a beautiful pedestal style base with a hammered brass band on the bottom. And yeah, it's just really great, and a beautiful checkered style top. And the most amazing thing about it was, I found it during COVID. And at this time I was living in Chelsea, and it was at this garage sale style antique store, and the price tag on it was $175. I said, hell yeah, we're taking it. And yeah, found a way to get it home, and it's been my favorite thing. And then to accompany it, I found this beautiful Italian style light fixture. Lighting is probably my favorite element of a home. To me, it really makes your home, not just the brightness, but also the style. So with that, I like a very eclectic style, and I wanted something that had very Italian, because there's two styles of lighting that I really love, Italian and French. It was hard finding a scissor arm that was long enough to extend to meet close enough to the center of the oval of the table, and it was hard to find. It took a while for it to come over here, but Cherish, of all places, there we go. And so in the director's chairs, this is gonna sound a little cliche, but I'm okay with that. Back whenever I was fantasizing life in New York, I would always watch Will and Grace. And Will and Grace always felt so much like a dream life and a dream home, and just a dream of a way to be. And so with that, I always loved the chairs that Will had around his dining table, director's chairs. And whenever it came time to furnish this space, granted I was wanting to do it all very quick and all within a reasonable budget, and director's chairs are actually very reasonable. So I thought, oh, how perfect. It's just kind of checking all of those little boxes, and so they're great. A lot of people love them. They're very comfortable for as simple as they are. And then here, there's always height here, because without it, you just lose the grandness of the height of the ceiling, of the 11-foot ceilings. And I always try to bring the branches into the dining nook, so that way it breaks the curve, so you pay more attention to the curvature of the molding. So much of the things that I already had fit so perfectly into this apartment, almost like it was always meant to be. Design of the apartment was the previous people, they had furniture kind of scattered all throughout, and most of it covered up the pattern on the floor. And with this, and the fun thing about this dining space is the pedestal of the table just kind of leads you right, the design of the floor leads you right to the dining space, and then right to the branches, and takes you all the way up. So really your eyes start low and are able to venture up. And with the cyan piece there, the fun thing about this here is actually a doorknob to the Tweed Courthouse here in Manhattan. They're on Chambers Street. So I was just walking around and taking pictures, and I saw this beautiful bronze door that was patinaed and looked great. The fact that they would put that much detail into something like that, it really means a lot for me. You'll see the chartreuse fireplace. This is actually the thing I didn't like the most whenever I first moved in. So it just felt too much. I was gonna have it fabricated to fit around here, but to do raw brass. So that way you'd have it patina and kind of give it more of a masculine feel to the space. But as I lived in the space more, and once I experienced a spring, and with all the chartreuse leaves coming out, this just fit more and more. So I'm keeping it, and I know there's a lot of people that say, how could you ever? I wouldn't take it out. It was just gonna fit right over it. So not to offend anyone, directly above it, we have two faces, two sculptural pieces that are part of the Cyan collection. They're just really cool, unique ones. This guy, he's no longer at the Met, but he was there during COVID. So that one's kind of neat because I don't know where he is, if he's hiding some different country or if he's hiding in the basement, but he's here now. So, and then another beautiful thing with the fireplace is the Victorian style, and you have all the detail, the dentil, and just the columns here. And to really add contrast to more of the masculine style that's in here, you have these dainty little ribbons and little flowers. That's one of those things that you just have to learn to live with. But that's what makes it so special here, because this home was built in 1896. So it's a really significant piece of history at this point. So the coffee table was a really fun discovery. Coffee tables are another piece that really make a big statement in your home, in my opinion. I wanted something that kind of contrasted the original style of the home. So it needed something a little contemporary, but not anything, 21st century contemporary. So this piece I found vintage. It's from the 60s, maybe early 70s. And I got this at an antique store in Brooklyn. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, we have to do that. And on the coffee table, the really fun addition that I didn't realize I would love so much is this little lamp. It's a little lamp from Germany. It's so dim that it almost mimics the candlelight effect. And with that, it's safer and easier than just burning a candle all day. And it adds such a whole mood to the coffee table. To the whole living space, really. This coffee table is really more of a reflection piece. And even with all of these pieces, so all of what I've learned to do with photography, especially here in New York, you take so many pictures, but yet they live on your computer and you never see the light of day. So part of the Cyan collection, I said, no, I'm gonna print every piece, kind of see which pieces, that's how I'll determine which pieces should be part of the collection. And so yeah, so there's still a lot more to print, but there's a considerable amount right here. And it's also a really fun conversation for guests because they kind of can just go through it and see more of what I see, which I think kind of makes the connection with them, to me, a little more unique and more special. And then here we have this red chair, and I really love this red chair. It's just such a great little pop of color. Originally it was in the bedroom, and I had ordered another chair, vintage chair, to go here. It has never arrived, and so this chair is just going to live here for now, even though it was really picked for the bedroom, because once you see the bedroom, you're like, no, that belongs in the bedroom. Something I like to do is try to find vintage as much as possible, and sometimes it's a little hard whenever you can't leave the city, but sometimes you get lucky at the Chelsea Flea, and sometimes that's great, sometimes it's just a big flop, but that's kind of the fun of it. So part of the things that I've found, just cool little, just tchotchkes things, it's those little things that make it really feel like a home, opposed to just buying everything brand new. And if I do buy something brand new, I usually alter it in some sort of fashion, especially a lamp. I rewire everything myself, so just so it has a nice braided cord. So if you see all of the lamps in the apartment, they've all been rewired. Becoming an artist, photographer, it just happened. 7th grade, my mom was taking pictures of my very athletic sister, and all the pictures were blurry. And so I took the camera and just said, let me see if I can figure something out. And I took a picture and it had somewhat of a sharpness to it. And the fact that you could actually see a still picture in a motion shot, I thought, wow, I'm onto something. And so that moment started this whole discovery of my love for photography. In the 6 years of living here in New York, I have gone on a whole journey of discovering all kinds of photography, whether it be design, like interior design photography, architectural photography specifically, even a few portraits. And architecture tends to be the one that I have a special place in my heart for. And so through that, I was always wanting photography to be more than just a piece of a print. You know, I wanted it to have a kind of that made by hand effect. So this past year, I discovered cyanotypes. It's been on the list of methods to try. And upon doing so, I fell in love. My whole life has turned blue now. So as we continue looking at this wall here, so this is the whole limewash wall, which is all the way from the wall to the ceiling. Little did I know that I was going to be doing these big blue pieces whenever I painted it, and it looks like I had it planned all along. So, you know, there we go. I'll take the credit on that. But yeah, so this is the Ansonia. This is probably one of my favorite buildings here on the Upper West Side. It is on the corner of 73rd and Broadway. And it is a very Beaux-Arts style building. And it was originally a hotel apartments. So there was no kitchen, nothing like that whenever they originally built. But it's just so beautiful, so Parisian. They don't make it like this anymore, unfortunately. And yeah, so on the Upper West Side, that's probably one of the favorite things that I love about this neighborhood is you can get lost here in the sense of the styles of buildings are so different. And then as we move to this building here, this is the Hute building, and this is on the corner of Broome and Broadway there in Soho. And for Soho, that tends to actually be like the neighborhood where I play around the most with photography. And it dawned on me why the other day, and it's because there is such a height restriction in that neighborhood. There's so much detail, and there's all very compact as far as height. So you can actually see all these details without having to have a crazy camera. So, but of course, I have the crazy camera and I want to see all these details really close up. So here we have it, and it's just really beautiful, you know, with the corbels and then the egg and dart and then the dentil and then, yeah, just the floral motifs. And then as we walk over here, this is a really cool piece, a very unique piece. This is a column of the New York Public Library that did for the Cyan collection. And I wanted a special piece that really felt like New York because that's what this collection is all about. And to me, I thought, well, so many of the other columns are covered by scaffolding right now. So the public library, I like that one a lot too. So let's do that. Yeah, so that's a really cool piece. The Fred Leighton piece, just a really beautiful motif from the Gothic style architecture of that building. And then here we have my favorite space to sit, really. This is my work table. It's a 110-inch dining table that I use as a very versatile piece with all of my work, whether it be the photography or more the art side of it. This is probably one of the biggest reaction pieces whenever people come in to see that I have a desk like this. And one of the things I didn't realize until it was already here is having a big dining table as the desk has actually always been on my dream list as a workspace, just because it's how I really like to work, is spread out and be able to work on multiple things at once. And with this, I can. And then I have a little designated space that is set for mostly aesthetics, you know, and just the practical side of things. Here we have the smaller pieces that are going to be part of the limited edition collection. And so with that, my biggest thing with art is it's so hard for art to feel accessible, especially at a price point and size-wise as well. And so with this, I really wanted people to be able to have a part of the collection and it feel attainable. and also fits in a New York size apartment, whatever size that might be, whether you have a classic 6 or you're in a studio. I just wanted it to be something for everyone. My favorite room in the house is definitely the bedroom, because that is the room that really has the most me in it. Obviously it's because it's blue, so that's a no-brainer. But that was a very particular blue lime wash, and that was a journey to try to find the right one, because I didn't have access to the lighting to like see what the natural light was in the space. And lime wash is one of those that you really need to know the lighting of the space prior to choosing your colors. And so, because just a little too much brightness washes it out completely, and then too little light, you don't see all the true depth of the color. So the blue was kind of a guess, and the paint was coming from Germany, and I needed it to be, to get going right on the first. And so I just kind of did a blind order, and it turned out really great. There's a whole other side to it that I had always wanted to put a chaise lounge or something that just made it more like a secondary living space. So this could be more of a work living space, but it has now turned out to be just a vast empty space that has become so versatile and so functional so the bedroom being blue makes it my favorite. So this one, I wanted it to be a nice soft light blue that made it seem happy and not so dark and depressing. Sleeping in there is going to bed in a cave. All right, so here we are. I hope you can see it clearly on the video, but this is the blue room. So it's the wall and ceiling, and to me, I love it. It's so great. And the whole inspiration for this room, all the colors and such, came from this blanket, and which I don't even know if it's a blanket, it's just some fabric, but it makes for a visual coverlet. The blue in it was what I really loved, and kind of the taupey browns and the creamy beige, and then the red. There's really all of those colors together, and that's why the red chair that's in the living room, that's why it was gonna be so great in here. But here we are with another, matching piece here. And it just so works perfectly with this little mohair throw lumbar pillow that I have. And talk about sourcing things out in a local way, but yet overseas, where it has kind of that European style, is this bedding came from Lithuania, and from this person on Etsy. She was so sweet, so great. Had this little round bedside table that had never had a home before, and just couldn't figure out where to put it, and it fit perfectly here. And then the blue bedside table over there was part of my very first place whenever I moved to New York. It was a forever piece just because it's that classic Chippendale style, and the color was really great, and it works so well in here. I had always thought, do I repaint it because is that too much blue? And answer is no, it stays. And the lamp that's on it, lamps are my weakness when it comes to gut purchases, or just like, you have to have it. When I saw that, it's a Italian space age style, and it was in my cart, and already had the receipt for it within a matter of 5 minutes after seeing it. So this one's vintage. They still make these today, but the great thing about the vintage is the bulb that you can put in it is a halogen bulb opposed to an LED bulb, which I know, energy efficient, but this one is so dim, so nice and dim, where the LED one is still way too bright and too white. And so moving on to the other side of the bedroom, where all the empty space is that I've now filled with something else, where it really becomes a work studio space. I have the big piece that I showed you, the little paper sample, a study of it on the coffee table. So this piece is the corner of Bowery and Bond here in New York. So it's a beautiful, beautiful cast iron building that has this gorgeous pointed tip on it, and used to be a bank at one point, but now it's some retail space. But here it kind of lives on as the classical architecture that it forever once was. And here we have this beautiful piece that is also part of the Cyan collection. This is the second version of the Hute building. The first one is on the main wall in the living room. It was meant to go up here. I just ran out of D-rings to hang it. It looks great down here. And you get to see the Greek key on the floor. So that's actually even better because the floors here are just part of that beautiful, historic, original parquet. And this unit actually has the best floors in the entire building. This whole space there were a lot of possibilities of what I was wanting to do with it. Always wanted just to have a big single piece of art here. And the fun thing with another way this whole Cyan collection got started was I needed art for the apartment, and I didn't want to go buy a lot of art because it's just hard to find at a price point, and especially for the scale you might need. So I ended up making it myself, and it's been the best journey ever. So you'll be surprised with what you can come up with. So for those of you that may have noticed, whenever you glance at this, the columns might have a little bit of a wave to it. That is not natural. That is because I was up till 3 a.m. last night stretching this. There's a reason why you should go to bed at a reasonable hour, because anything after, you're gonna have to redo it. So this one will be re-stretched just to fix it. It just is character for right now. So it'll be fixed because this is probably one of the most unique and most special pieces in the collection. And it's also one of the larger pieces as well. And with this, it was really key to get the right amount of blue to come into it, because with that, I had to erase all the windows just so that way it had a little more unique cyan flair to it. New York has just always been one of those cities that is on your list to live in. It seems daunting and terrifying at first, especially from being a small town Texan boy. And I just had one of those moments where, I was in my early 20s and I thought, if I'm gonna take a risk, this is the time to do it. And so I sent my resume to a designer that I'd been following on Instagram for a few years. And I got an email back that day saying, can you come in for an interview this afternoon? And I said, no, but I'll be there tomorrow. I didn't tell him I lived in Texas at the time. I booked a red-eye flight and had the interview the next day, got the job, and from getting the job to moving to New York was all within 2 weeks. So moved here, didn't even have a place to live, so I crashed on a friend's sofa and yeah, figured it all out. As soon as I got the keys to the apartment, I started the whole process. Each room took 4 coats of primer, 2 coats of prep coat, and then 2 coats of lime wash. And the lime wash is something that you have to do all by hand, a brush stroke. So no rollers, nothing like that. And each pass on the ceiling took 4 hours. And then this is where the TV had once lived, where it is no more, and it is now just work. But work is fun for me. I like work. Whenever you work for yourself and it's something you love, it's true, it doesn't feel like work. So here we have my way of keeping organized with everything that's going on, because there's a lot going on. I have all the little pieces that have officially made it to the collection that I'm working on. And then I have all of my little to-dos and idea spaces and notes for the collection and yeah, pricing. And then here, this is something you can't really see yet because this is something working on for Homeworthy. But it's very exciting. First coolest thing is this little guy here. I was invited to do a design bid for my friends that are event designers, who are my friends that live downstairs actually. They got this really cool opportunity to do a design bid for the Frick collection opening back up for the gala that they were hosting. And so the most unique thing about the collection is the architecture of the space. And if you know New York and if you know the Frick, they've been closed for the past 5 years doing a like $220 million renovation. Crazy. So we were thinking, how amazing would it be to do a Cyan style table setting of where all the tablecloths were original Cyan pieces with elements of the building, the architectural elements of the building. So being me, being very tangible and needing to kind of, see to believe, I made this little mock-up of just scrap linen And it's the fence perimeter and little cornice details and some other, anything that I could see without the scaffolding in the way. So it's just one of those fun little cute things that anytime people come in, they always ask, is that a dollhouse thing? And then I get to say, no, it's something even cooler. And then the other fun thing that I love is this little lamp. It's just really fun, really great, from Germany. It's just one of those little happy dim things that make a big effect in the room. This is more than just a single-sided board. It's, you know, this is the vision board, but then also on the other side is the mood board. Well, actually all the fabric selection boards for all of the pieces that I did for a project, a design project that I was working on. And it's really fun, very colorful. So you'll see that I am more than just a very neutral, easy tone guy. A lot of pattern and a lot of texture. This is more my real style. If I could really have no budget to live in New York, this is exactly how I'd live. Part of the whole creative process for me, where I really like to get started, is I play with fabrics. Fabrics are kind of like, they're just so tangible and so available as well, especially here in New York. You can just pop over to any of the buildings that for designers and really just have a heyday. Moving into the kitchen, I seldomly cook. If I do, it's something very basic. And as you can see, it's really not a kitchen. It's now more of like a, where Cyan pieces go to dry. So it's more of that. And then, so this side of the kitchen has all of the kitchen essentials. And then this side of the kitchen is all the fabrics and all the fun stuff, where I really like to have fun, where I spend more time than on that side. The wild thing about this kitchen is this is like a suburban size kitchen. That's a suburban size fridge. So to have this in New York, I feel very fortunate. And then it also serves as just like another workspace for a computer. But once again, it's out of sight, out of mind. And the really fun thing about all of this kitchen space is I found a way to utilize it to suit my needs. And that is just by having a little drying space whenever I'm doing the small pieces and rinsing it and then just hang them up to dry. Floors they're not original. They were part of the person who lived here in the early 2000s. They did that. Would love to do something with it, but you know, I'm renting. So, but I did paint the ceiling the same color as the walls. And the main reason I did that was because this was all white before and it was just too much. And then from this angle, you can really see the beautiful detail that's around the fixture, the ceiling fixture. And that's original plaster. And it's just one of those little beautiful features that makes it really show just how old the space is. Yes, I work in it, but it's also, for me, work is so much about living and your energy and mood, and yeah, and so lighting is the easiest thing to affect that. So directly behind me we have something that is very special because it's something I've been working on for the past 6-7 months. 3 of the 26 pieces that are part of this collection I've been working on. These 3 behind me were the ones that were going to be just, that was it. That was all that was going to be for one collection, and that was going to be, in my head I was thinking like back in December, but I kept working on it, kept thinking, no, this is really cool, really different. This is a new way to see architecture in New York. And it's a way to have it in your home without it being New York in your face. To me, it's kind of just puts the 3 kind of similar styles of New York. You have the Gothic style, then you've got a beautiful Beaux-Arts, and then you've got just your beautiful revival with all the cornice details of the Hugh building. And so in this collection, it was really all inspired by looking up. You know, the one thing that New Yorkers are not allowed to do. You know, we're never allowed to look like a tourist, but yet above us that's where all the good stuff is. Discovering like, oh, there's a great statue, there's a cool bust, there's, you know, it's bringing things to life in all new ways. And that's what the Cyan collection is. So what we are making here is we're actually going to make or prep the piece for our exposure today. And what it is it's a really simple chemistry solution of 2 parts, and they're both equal when you mix them. And we are going to take a different version, a bigger version of this guy, but this piece here will turn into this, and this guy is what I've made the kind of the icon or the logo for Cyan, especially this first collection. So my favorite piece in it as far as the small motifs. So with this, I have the negative of the piece, and I'm just figuring out how much paper I need, and then I'll cut. Right now we're just going to apply the chemistry to the paper, which is a cotton rag paper. And by a cotton rag, I mean that it's paper made from cotton, and it just has better properties to it. It's stronger properties. So, because a big thing that we'll do with this after the whole exposure is we'll rinse it. And with that, you need strong paper so that way it doesn't disintegrate once you put a lot of water on it. And another thing that I like to do with the brush as I'm applying the chemistry is I like to get a little sloppy sometimes, so that way we know that this was done by hand. So, let's have a little fun on the corners there. So the piece that we're going to be exposing today is a very unique piece, a very cool piece for me. That is on 11 Broadway, down in Fidei. And if you can see here, it is just very beautiful, very detailed. Yeah, it's one of my favorite discoveries in the city. So yes, we're gonna take this piece, and it is actually, I've already turned it into a negative. We invert the highlights to then become shadows, and the shadows become the highlights. And then whenever we do the whole exposure, it creates the whole fun process, and it actually makes it the way it actually is in the photo to some degree. And just as a little tease, what this might look like at the end is something like this. This was part of an exposure test, a study of figuring out how long I would need to expose it for. And so this was for 5 minutes, this was 10 minutes, and so forth. So today, I have an idea, maybe, we'll see. The UV index is getting higher every day as it's getting closer to summer, thank God. So it should be pretty quick. This whole cyanotype process is how blueprints were originally made. And this is a printing process that was developed back in 1842. So it's been around for quite a while. I'm just now discovering it. And I'm loving it. But to take pieces, buildings that were designed based off of blueprints, actual blueprints, and to put an image of a final piece on as a blueprint, to me that just is a very beautiful full circle story. It just makes everything that much more unique. So we are going to assemble the piece now. This is just a big tub of clamps that I've collected. I didn't realize I had that many. So yeah. So what I do is I just have a scrap piece of plywood and a sheet of plexiglass. And it's really simple, very simple. Just that. And put the negative. I'm clamping it down just because any movement in the exposure process will either create blur, or it's literally just like taking like film photography, the exposure. So that time that the shutter is open, you can either overexpose or underexpose, and any movement during that process creates the blur. So that's the other really fun thing about this, is it's a very tangible experience to photography, which is so fun in this day and age where everything is so digital. So this one is ready to go, and let's go to the park. All right, so we are headed to the park, and as we going downstairs, the fun thing about living in a really cool brownstone is you have your own landing, and with that, I have another wall to put more art. Actually, all these pieces started out on the main wall in my living room, office, workspace. And whenever I put the blue pieces up, I needed to move them elsewhere. So here we have some of my favorite photos. This is a photo of the Chrysler Tower, Chrysler building that is just so moody, so great, very simple. And this guy is actually probably one of my favorite photos. Perry Boy is what I call him. Completely accidental shot. He, originally whenever I looked at the shot, he ruined the shot. But turns out he was the right character for it. So he made it completely, especially because he's in a turtleneck and on a bicycle that's not a city bike. So we'll go downstairs. So the reason for cyanotypes opposed to a platinum palladium or any other just typical alternative printing process is because this one actually has color, and it's really the only one that has such vibrant colors, and I love a vibrant color. So of all processes, this one felt the most suitable for me, and it's also one of the quickest ones that you'll see the reaction to. So it makes it it's easier to learn on, honestly, because you can easily see what you're doing wrong or what you're doing right. As you can see, the piece has already changed colors, and this is not going to be anywhere close to the final process, but what's happening is the piece is being exposed to UV light, and that is the chemical reaction that occurs in order to get the blue that we'll have. So it went from that beautiful bright chartreuse, kind of in the mid stage of being a green gray, and once it's ready, it'll be a more muted brown gray. All right, so our 15 minutes has passed and the color's changed, and we are ready to go inside and rinse it all off. So let's go. So here's our exposed piece from the park. As you can see, it's the brown gray. And then here, so what's gonna really happen is everywhere that is black on the negative is gonna be the white. So we're gonna rinse away all the unused chemistry. So here we go. Run it under just like water to get more off, but it's not going to change much from here. And then I'll do one where I'll put the water telling you. For me is a place where I can escape, and to escape means so much more than just, shut the door and be in your own space. In New York, to escape means to survive New York. So in a city that's always going, there's always so much to do. There's endless opportunities and, and unending noise. To escape and have your space is what really home is here. And for me, the way I make a home, my home, is I have lots of very dim lighting and 9 lamps in one room, and it's still very dim at night. So to me, that is my home.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.